Sheriff Todd Baxter, employees of Monroe County Sheriff's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, employees of Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Paul C. Metzer, James Melly Jr., Penfield Town Court, Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court. My name is Chris Chichester. I have been in jail 6 times. 6 times the prosecutors now talked to court. District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Deputy District Attorney Perry Duckles. What are the names of my prosecutors? And you will refuse to disclose those names to me, despite the fact I've been demanding those names for 18 plus months. Because you're corrupt. That's why. This is the Freedom of Information Law. It's dated this May 4th. Every single one of these I'm going to read, you received on May 2nd. And you refused. I'm not surprised. I'm not under any type of opinion that you're going to comply with the law because you're corrupt. What are the names of my prosecutors? Deputy District Attorney Perry Duckles. Christopher.Chichester at mail.com. I shouldn't even have to write a Freedom of Information Law foil to demand it. She just disclosed it to me as a citizen. Because Perry Duckles, a courtroom is financed by the taxpayers, and every single assistant district attorney assigned to my cases is a taxpayer-financed public employee. It is insane to refuse to disclose the names of prosecutors assigned to my court appearances, where I'm an innocent man, and prosecutors who have never talked in court. How is any citizen in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk to court? That's because of the corruption of the judges I've been in front of. John P. Lemaitre Jr., Paul C. Metzer, and Alex Renzi. And who elevated me to Alex Renzi? You repulsive shack at 47 South Vigil. It's the prosecutor assigned to that appearance. Who is it, Perry Duckles? Freedom of Information Law. Information about the grand jury convened by District Attorney Sandra Doorley. That is 1. The month and year the grand jury is convened. 2. The assigned District Attorney Office employee that addressed the grand jury. 3. The witnesses that testified to the grand jury. 4. The vote of the grand jury. 5. Transcript of the grand jury proceeding. What am I talking about, Perry Duckles? If you watch me, I'll never know, but I'm going to send this to your office and tell your corrupt boss, Sandra Doorley, to watch this, which is called Leeches. Because you're leeches on society. That's why. It's District Attorney's Office. You're prosecuting me in silence as an innocent man. That's why you leeches on society. And then you're refusing to disclose the names of these sociopaths that are prosecuting me in silence. What are their names? So, this is the fanatical cops. This is why people hate the police. And this is why people hate prosecutors in a district attorney's office. Michelle Crowley, why wasn't I called to the grand jury? I've said this to you over and over. You convened a grand jury where Michael Houlihan of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter, $73,000 corrupt fanatic, testified. Where I don't know the grand jury's convened and you don't call me as a witness. You don't even interview me at the district attorney's office. You know absolutely nothing, you disgusting sick act. How's this answered? You should be disbarred. I'm confident you can be disbarred. I don't like to make predictions, and I try to refrain from making predictions. But when I go into facts and circumstances and what has happened to me because of you, Michelle Crowley, I think there is a high likelihood that you could be disbarred. Why don't you call me to the grand jury? How's that answer, Michelle Crowley? When I write the complaint, if it's called a complaint about you, to disbar you. How is that possibly answered? You don't call me to the grand jury, you don't interview me, and you know nothing. So 2 years ago, I leave my residence to go to Wegmans at midnight, which I've done nearly the whole time, 7 years I've lived at this residence. I'm going to leave and walk to Sanders Farm Drive, walk to another road called Willow Pond Way, and go to Wegmans. Anything that $85,000 Don Benedetto and $73,000 Michael Houlihan say is a lie. And the only thing that matters is what happens on the back porch. And pay attention, Michelle Crowley. A crime to be committed on the back porch. These 2 disgusting, sickening sociopaths just have to explain what they're doing, stalking me and hiding on private property, my 72-year-old neighbor. And Perry Duckles, is that constitutional? Can the cops lie in wait on private property? Can they do that? I don't know. You know, when I write this down, instead of just saying it here on YouTube, you refuse to answer me. They're right near the bedroom window of my 72-year-old neighbor who lives alone with her dog. I did not tell her that these 2 psychopaths are on her property. So I leave my residence and walk alongside my residence. He come, Houlihan and Benedetto running at me. I turn around and run away. When I began to run, I never stopped running. I grab a hammer next to my bike. I place my foot on the first of 3 steps on the back porch. Michael Houlihan grabs the hammer. It goes up. I pull away, runs through the sliding glass door. I never stopped running. This is on the body camera footage of either only Michael Hulan or both Michael Hulan and Don Benedetto. Well, I ran the whole time. Did you, Michelle Crowley, see this body camera footage? I'm going to write this down. I have not asked you that question yet. Michelle Crowley, contact me. Christopher.Chichester@mail.com. cchichester4gmail.com. 813-648-4441. Contact me. And you will refuse because you're corrupt. That's why. So, the hammer goes up to pull away and run through the sliding glass door. I am heard saying on the body camera footage, fuck you. This is not a crime. Michael Hulan and Don Benedetto went back to the district attorney's office and concocted what's called attempted felony assault, for which I was in Livingston County Jail when prosecuted in target court. Alex Renzi told me in New York State Supreme Court that there's no such thing as attempted felony assault. It's either assault or it's not assault, because it is a landmine of vagueness for anything to be attempted. Anything can be attempted felony assault. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Hacks, sociopaths, the district attorney's office about these corrupt cops, $73,000 Michael Hulan, $85,000 Don Benedetto that Todd Baxter won't fire. There's no such thing, according to Alex Renzi, as attempted felony assault. And I didn't attempt to felony assault him. Michelle Crowley, respond to me. The ethical, honest, moral, decent thing to do is respond. And you won't. How many grand jurors are there? What was the vote? Is it a unanimous vote? I don't know anything because I'm your ham sandwich, Michelle Crowley. What's not to understand? And you do fail to understand because you're corrupt. Send me the information. It's right here. All the information I just said. My email, my address, my phone number, my address, 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, 14604. That's my UPS. Or, Todd, you can send your employees to where I live on Park Avenue now, and they can stand in my backyard screaming like psychopaths and banging on the front door. What am I talking about? I'm going to go into more detail about that the next time I'm on YouTube. Richard J. Seidman, Todd Baxter, $75,000 fanatic, walked into the Pemberton Public Library and violently attacked me. That means nothing to you, $0 Michael Rather, $34,000 Kathleen Miller, $101,000 William Tadeo. It means absolutely nothing. This is a violent psychopath. Two people are going to decide I'm going to be in Livingston County Jail in Geneseo. And how's that constitutional, Barry Douglas? Paul C. Metz was convening Pemberton Town Court. This $28,000 bald-headed, wig-wearing psychopath widow, and the district attorney's office is not notified. When I say the district attorney's office is not notified because they're not there. Is that constitutional? You know. I don't. Julie Sianka, public defender from Monroe County. Mark Phillips, Regina Harper, assistant public defenders. Do you know you're not in there as a public defender defending me? Because Paul C. Metzler wants to send me to Livingston County Jail. The district attorney's office is not notified. The public defender's office is notified. There she is, just waiting to declare me guilty after I'm violently attacked. My civil and constitutional rights was smashed into a million little pieces by this $28,000 bald-headed widow. And that doesn't matter to you, public defender Julie Sianka, assistant public defender Mark Phillips, assistant public defender Regina Harper, who are returning my mail to me. I'm not going to send it back to them. Take photographs of this when I contact the Department of Justice. It's envelope after envelope from the public defender's office where I'm just demanding from you. The only thing I was demanding is the names of my prosecutors. It's the only thing I was demanding from you. Notice I'm using the word demanding. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you to tell me to disclose the names to me in a public proceeding financed by the taxpayers. And you're refusing at the public defender's office, and that's insane. So, Richard J. Seidman walks into the Pemberton Public Library. I do not know that he watched me leave my residence 26 Sanders Farm Drive with his disgusting, sickening, violent partner, walk down Pemberton Road, walk the bad road. I do not know that following me and stalking me into the library, stand up at the computer. Seidman runs at me, slams me in the head with his arm. I fell down and my head hit the ceramic tile. This is how I know I have $61.39 in my pocket, because that check was reissued to me. I had money in my pocket. Seidman, Richard J. Seidman attacks me, takes me down the hall. Paul C. Metzler declares me guilty of something that drew me to Livingston County Jail in Geneseo. So, the check was given back to me, which I never cashed because I knew I was going to come to YouTube and hold it up, which I did, but it expired. So, it's an expired check, Todd Baxter. Freedom of Information Law, send this money back to me, $61.39. At this address, 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York, 14604. And I know you refuse Because you're corrupt, because you're a psychopath, because you're an extremist, because you're a sociopath, Todd Baxter. Freedom of Information. The issuance of a new check to Christopher Chichester at the address below for an expired check in the amount of $61.39 from the County of Monroe Officer Sheriff Inmate Fund account, because that's the dollar amount in pocket of Christopher Chichester when he's violently attacked at Penfield Public Library by $75,094 Richard J. Siegman at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. This is attached to PDF. You can read it. So what are these names? Now, these names here. Who are the freaks? Who are the freaks prosecuting me in total silence? $113,000 Perry Douglas. I know it's not you, because I know you like this. I know what these freaks look like. I just don't know what they're paid. Here you are, Perry Douglas, $113,918. Is it Matthew Schwartz at $106,742 or Marky Monahan at $112,508? Michelle Crowley, $100,000. You're paid $100K, you disgusting hack, to convene that grand jury that I don't know is convened when Michael Lunan purges himself. This is the perjury. I don't know what the question is. At some point in that grand jury, Michael Houlihan said that I swung hammered him. That's when he purges himself. He should be fired immediately, Michael Rather, $0 employee, $101,000 William Tadeo. I will never know if you watch me. If you do, bring this YouTube link to Todd Baxter, play for him, and tell him to fire $73,000 Michael Houlihan and $75,000 Richard J. Seaman. You know why? Not because of anything that's happened to me. That's irrelevant. Richard J. Seaman will violently attack other citizens. Michael Houlihan will perjure himself again. That's why. You need to insulate yourself from the corrupt cops. But since Todd Baxter is the corrupt cop in Monroe County, it does not matter that Richard J. Seaman violently attacked me. It does not matter that Michael Houlihan lied under oath. It does not matter to you at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office because you're a Johnstown. So who is it? Who are the freaks here? Prosecuting in silence, Elizabeth D. Buckley. I believe you are the Assistant District Attorney for the local courts. Because Kyle Steinbach used to me. I contacted Kyle Steinbach, who had copied on this email, this Gmail here, with his unlimited recipients. He's at, I think, Stowe Legal or something. It's a private law firm. And I'm telling him to tell me the names of my prosecutors when he's at the district attorney's office. And he emails me and said, we don't discuss open cases. I'm staring at this email from Kyle Steinbach. You should be under any confusion, Kyle, why I lost from Monroe County Court, because you don't understand English language. I'm thinking, I just told this guy at the district attorney's office to tell me the names of my prosecutors. And he tells me we don't discuss open cases. And I email Kyle Steinbach back. This is the laziness of the mind, the bankruptcy of your office, Sandra Doorley. I say, I'm home. I was in jail. Who's my prosecutor? It's the first time. And I didn't hear anything back from him. An assistant district attorney that refuses to disclose the names of prosecuting public proceeding, which is every one of you assistant district attorneys. If you watch me, I'm telling you to disclose public information to me. Who is it? Who are the freaks? Is it Michael J. Harrigan, 102-686? I don't know. You do. So, here's the foil. Is this Julie Hahn or is this not Julie Hahn? Who is it? Freedom of information on the documentation for the case for Christopher Todd, John P. Lenzer, Union Town Court Wards, and prosecutor Sandra Doorley. This is the 5'2" three-piece suit boy. Because you know, Harper, you know his name. You know why? Because you said to me the prosecutor's not backing down. I hate this fucking sociopath with every single fiber of my being because he didn't talk, not one word, not one sound, not one syllable, not one sentence. How is any citizen in jail when a prosecutor talk in court? District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Deputy District Attorney Perry Douglas. How? Doesn't matter to you. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester, Paul C. Lester, Penfield Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? Regina Harper, you can answer me. Because you know this name. Public Defender Julie Sianka, you know this name. And you refuse because you're corrupt. That's why. My last appearance in New York State Supreme Court. I'm in New York State Supreme Court because I have a prosecutor that forced me into New York State Supreme Court before $208,000 70-year-old fossil Alex Renzi, former employee of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, where he's a prosecutor's judge. He's with the prosecutor every single time. I'm sure you know at the District Attorney's Office that there is a phrase, I believe it's called judge shopping, where you know the judges. This happens everywhere in the United States of America. The prosecutors and the defense know. The judges that are sympathetic to the defense. The prosecutors in the defense know the judges that are sympathetic to the prosecution. Johnny Cochran certainly knew it. In Los Angeles, California, 25 years ago. And so did Marshall Clark. So you know who the prosecutor judges are. who are going to be with you. This is a prosecutor's judge, Alex Renzi, former employee of the district attorney's office. He thinks like a prosecutor at the court, and that's why he's so dangerous. Who forced me in to Alex Renzi? I'll tell you who forced me into Alex Renzi. Because I'm at my temporary residence, 70 Liberty Pole Way. I'm at my temporary residence because it's an illegal eviction by 80-year-old Anthony Ospano, Fairport, Norfolk, locked the doors and locked me out. I slept in Harris Wellen Park for 3 weeks with this old man and with the assistance of my ex-girlfriend, who took everything out into a storage locker. Own nothing, have nothing. Own nothing, have nothing, because you psychopaths, the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office. So this foil I'm going to read, the name is right here. Either on the first page or second page, this is the payroll for the district attorney's office. This is information you have at the district attorney's office, Perry Douglas, district attorney, Sandra, Doorley. This is information you have, Teresa Yanka, Mark Phillips, Regina Harper. So, Freedom of Information Law. Documentation for the case for Christian Chachester, New York State Supreme Court, for Alex Renzi. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? It's right here. Who is it? You refuse because you're corrupt. So, Paul C. Metzler. I'm at Monroe County Jail. And then I have a new doctor. I'd like to introduce to you at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Monroe County District Attorney's Office, my new doctor, Dr. Sheriff Todd Baxter, because I'm driven to a place, a center in Monroe County where I was for 3 weeks, where I have no physical examination. There's no 730 for me. You know what a 730 is. 730 is the section in the mental health law that determines competence for a defendant. And this can be abused. And when I contact the State Department of Health and Office of Mental Health, I'm going to tell its employees and its commissioners what has happened to me. But there is no 730 for me. So I'm taken from Monroe County Jail by my new doctor because his 2 employees that work for Dr. Sheriff Todd Baxter just showed up and drove me over there. You know where it is, Regina Harper. We talked about this briefly. Or you said to me you knew where I was because you used the acronym. That's why. Which I will never use and I'll never say on here. But you can figure it out. Todd Baxter, when I appeared in Pamphlet Town Court for Paul C. Metzler, she stated the name of this place. And I stared at her really in stunned silence. I'm thinking, how does she know that? Because I only told my mother and father. You know why, Todd Baxter? Because you gave my health care records to $28,000 bald-headed widow, Paul C. Metzler from Pamphlet Town Court. That's why. How does Paul C. Metzler know where I went after Monroe County Jail without a 730 mental health evaluation? Because you told her. That's why. By either calling her on the phone, having some kind of contact with her, perhaps in person, but she certainly has the documentation that you sent to her. Freedom of Information Law. Copy of the private health care records delivered to $28,000 Pamphlet Town Court Judge Paul C. Metzler by Sheriff Todd Baxter of Monroe County, in violation of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. As I'm a former United States Senate, United States House of Representatives staffer in the Office of Senator Olympia Snow and Congressman Lamar Smith, I was aware of legislation before Congress about healthcare records because sometimes this would be an issue before the House Judiciary Committee when my boss was the chairman of one of the subcommittees. But I did not know about HIPAA. I had no idea that this is a federal law in the United States of America since 1996 that you, Todd Baxter, violated. What's Paul C. Metzler doing with my healthcare records in violation of federal law? You gave them to her. I've said this now repeatedly. What's your answer, Todd Baxter? Your answer, Todd Baxter, is either going to be admit the truth or it's going to be your default position for everything, which is to lie. This, I believe, can remove you from office because it can generate such rage in Monroe County you cannot survive. There are any number of ways a sheriff or district attorney can remove from office. One is resignation, where they just understand the way the political dynamic is aligned against that elected official and then decide to resign. That happened to Elliot Spitzer in Albany. I was in Albany that day. If you have your employees doubling their salaries, Todd Baxter, if Richard J. Seaman exists, instead of it being a $75,000 psychopath, if Richard J. Seaman is a $150,000 psychopath and he makes more money than you and there are 20, 30, 40 employees just like that, I believe you cannot remain in office. How many employees receive overtime? Same thing with the district attorney's office. Perry Douglas, you had $113,000. Are you paid more money than Sandra Doorley, $210,000? I don't know. You know. So at the district attorney's office, there's Elizabeth Buckley at $104,000. Can you double your salary, Elizabeth Buckley, to $208,000 when you're right there in the vicinity of Sandra Doorley with overtime? What's the answer? This is why you're corrupt. To call an elected official, especially a district attorney and sheriff, corrupt requires evidence. I'm the evidence right now. I'm the evidence right here using a legally binding document. That's the Freedom of Information Law. I think I've written this. I'm going to send you a box that could weigh about 5 pounds of how many times I've used the upon you complied twice when I got the payroll. I think I've written this 1,000 times. Freedom of Information Law. Total cost of overtime, time and a half for paid on a base salary calculated by Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter. What's the answer? So simple answer. You're in fear of answering. That's why. I hope you're in fear of answering. Freedom of Information Law. Total cost of overtime, time and a half for paid on base salaries calculated by Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. You're in fear of answering. I hope you're in fear of answering. This could be a monumental political problem for District Attorney Sandra Doorley. She has employee after employee after employee abusing overtime or time and a half, however it's done. There's different ways to do this. There was no overtime when I was an employee for the majority leader and governor in Albany and in Congress as a U.S. House Human Sense there. You had what's called comp time, where you reach the 41st hour, you could just take time off. No overtime for anybody. Do you know why? And there is a reason. Because elected officials at a certain point, especially in Congress, when they've achieved a certain status, know that the salaries paid to their staffers and any tax monies delivered to staffers can create political problems. And what's every elected official motivated by? It's re-election. And if staffers are being paid obscene amounts of money that can't be defended by the elected official, then the elected official is going to be in jeopardy for re-election. That's why. This right here, I believe, for Sandra Doorley, I just read the cost of overtime, time and a half hour paid beyond base salaries calculated by Monroe County District Attorney's Office. I'm going to send this to Controller Thomas P. DiNapoli. These flaws, they refusing to answer. And then I'm confident, not him, but one of his employees in the Controller's Office, where I have been, will contact you and say, why are you not disclosing to the citizen overtime, time and a half, or however monies are paid beyond the 40th hour? What's the answer? The answer is you're corrupt. I believe that Thomas P. DiNapoli called you directly, Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley, and said, what are your overtime expenses? And he's asking you what I'm demanding of you. You refuse because you're corrupt. So, Todd Thurston. Win today, or Kathleen Miller, Scott Alberti. It's just sexual harassment at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. The answer is yes. There's no doubt about that. The cost of taxpayers of Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter expended taxpayer dollars on employment-related discrimination lawsuits, federal collide with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I've seen this in my places of employment that I have cited. In Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, there is quite a nightlife that I participated in. And when I would go out on the Hill with my fellow staffers and others, staffers talk about what happens in other offices. And I heard about this behavior, especially in Washington, D.C. It's even worse in Washington, D.C. and Albany. I would thought it would be the reverse. Because there were more members, that's why. State legislature at the time is only 212. It's 435 members of the House of Representatives. That's 435 elected officials that can victimize a staffer. It's just disgusting behavior, what I heard over and over and over. Not only about the member, about how like a chief of staff would behave too. Is this sexual harassment? It's a sheriff's office, and Todd Baxter's refusing because he's corrupt. Have you ever been sexually harassed, as you understand the term, Kathleen Miller, by a Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee? Freedom of Information Law. Cost taxes, Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter suspended taxpayer dollars, settled employment discrimination lawsuits, federal collide Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. District Attorney's Office. The cost of taxpayers, Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Doorley suspended taxpayer dollars, settled employment-related discrimination lawsuits, the federal collide with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So this is the payroll of the District Attorney's Office. You know the answer, Perry Douglas. And so is your disgusting, sickening boss who doesn't know if she's a Democrat or Republican. So, salary is status in an office. And the more money you make, especially in the district attorney's office, the more power you have. power inside you is that individual. So in the district attorney's office here, Sarah Stridon, Sarah S. Van Stridon is paid $104,399.63. Further along down on the payrolls, Kathleen Mary Spakowski. She is paid $36,062.57. So Sarah Van Stridon, that's salary disparity. Sarah Van Stridon is less likely to be a victim, even though she can be a victim of sexual harassment, than Kathleen Mary Spakowski. You know why? Because the salary disparity is $70,000. That's why. Between Sarah Van Stridon and Kathleen Mary Spakowski. Kathleen Mary Spakowski, I believe, I could be incorrect. I don't have the errors, so I'm right about everything. Can't answer this question. Is there sexual harassment at the district attorney's office? Just like Jennifer Hyde at $98,481. Can't answer that question at the district attorney's office. And so can Dawn C. Staub at the district attorney's office, $76,490. Have you, Dawn C. Staub, ever been sexually harassed at the district attorney's office? And you know how you find out if someone's been sexually harassed? If there's been a settlement. Are you expending taxpayer dollars for it? You refuse to answer because you're corrupt. District Attorney Sandra, Deputy District Attorney Perry Douglas is contracting in the sheriff's office for your firearms. That weapon, Todd Baxter, you have holstered to you at all times when you are in uniform is contracted. Who's the contractor? Is the county of Monroe? Is it a private contractor? I don't know. You know. You know the contractor for the firearms. And how much is it and how many firearms? I believe you are such a sick, addled brain of dysfunction. You would claim that you don't have to answer this question for some type of ridiculous security concern for the sheriff's office. That those are your weapons. You can't disclose the contract and how much your weapons are. I believe that you would come up with some type of 1984 excuse just like that one. That you can't disclose the name of the contract, the value of the contract, because it jeopardizes your press security at the sheriff's office, and that's ludicrous. That's what I believe your lie will be, because you, Todd Baxter, are a liar. Freedom of Information Law. Contract signed by Sheriff Todd Baxter to purchase firearms from Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees to include 1, the name of the firearms contractor, 2, the number of firearms purchased, 3, the total amount of taxpayer dollars expended to purchase firearms. When I say that there are things that can remove you from office, this is one of them. What's the value of this contract? You fleece the taxpayers with a contract for firearms. How are the firearms delivered to your office? And it's not just the handguns, the long guns, the rifles. As I've said now repeatedly, you have an arsenal at the sheriff's office. As you should. I remember years ago, I think it's been now a decade, they had that situation with the West Webster Fire Department where this man barricaded himself inside and he was armed. And I think he was firing outside the residence. And I think there were firefighters that were murdered by him. And I don't know if you were on the scene there, Sheriff Baxter, or it was just the local police, but this really is a terrible tragedy that happened. Well, the police that showed up to confront this violent individual and this murderer were armed. And those weapons, those police had that day. And if in fact the sheriff's office was there, I don't know. A courtesy of the taxpayers. Every police officer, sheriff's office employee in the state of New York has a firearm because of the taxpayers. You're refusing to answer because you're corrupt. Sheriff Todd Baxter. So back to the issuance of the new check. Send me this check. $61.39. You refuse because you're corrupt. Tell me the names of my prosecutors that are prosecuting me in silence. You refuse because you're corrupt. This is what I sent you. I haven't printed this out yet. This says a target The grand jury, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. That's it right there. Can you see it? I don't know. Sometimes there's a glare on the phone. This is May 2nd, 2023. Well, I'm telling you what I just read. To tell me what happened with this grand jury. What's the name of the assigned prosecutor the grand jury that indicts me when I'm not called? I'm telling you I'm a target right here. I'm your target of this grand jury, these 18 to 24 anonymous cities where I'm not called as a witness, where I don't know the grand jury's convened. When Michelle Crowley has no contact with me as the director of the grand jury. Tell me the answers. Answer the FOIL. You can indict a ham sandwich. I'm your ham sandwich, Michelle Crowley. Regina Harper called me on the phone and says you've been indicted. I humped the phone. I sat on my couch when I lived in my residence in Penfield. I really sat there. And when these things happen to me because of you psychopaths, I have conflicting thoughts and anger I have to manage. And the thought I had sitting on my couch where I'm told by Regina Harper, the public defender's office, that I'm indicted is, what's wrong with this Sandra Doorley? And why wasn't I called to the grand jury? And what's wrong with these psychopaths? I constantly think about you being psychopaths. How am I indicted when I don't even know the grand jury's convened? I've said this over and over. I'm sitting there on my couch. Then I had to call my family members and tell them, do you think doing this to me, Michelle Crowley, just had an effect on me? This is one of the worst days of my life when I had to make that phone call. What I'm saying to this particular family member, who I've not talked to in over a year, everything that I've said here that I ran away the whole time from Michael Houlihan and Don Benedetto. If I wanted to swing a hammer, Todd Baxter and Michael Houlihan, I would have cracked it over his fucking head and he would have been unconscious right next to my back porch because I'm coordinated, you Benito Mussolini skinhead. Do you understand me? I have never in my long life for 57 years ever engaged in violence. So this year is the return receipt on May 1. Here's your name right here, Todd Baxter. I'm telling you to disclose this information to me that I just read and you refused. Here's your name, Sandra Doorley, on May 1. May 1, I'm telling you. The same files I just read, you got on May 1, that you signed for. I don't know who's going to send this back to me. Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court. I'll be in front of this hack again. I'll be in front of this fossil again. All it takes is one of you psychopaths at the District Attorney's Office to write the warrant. I'll be filed and stalked and tracked. I won't have any due process. He'll just declare me guilty. We don't have to talk to the District Attorney's Office. I'll be in jail. U.S. Attorney Trini Ross got this. I'd like to know what Miss Ross thinks when this is May 1. And this is included in the documentation from February 16th. What I just showed you this here, Trini Ross, who was in Buffalo, when she looks at this, where it says, Todd Baxter, $16,000 pay raise freak, 83,291, 42 cents, Shannon and Meyer. And it says right here, here's all your emails here. And this is also sent to your office. This is in your office. I understand if I send you an email, you don't watch a YouTube and you blow it off. This is in your office, Sandra Doorley. You have it. It's in front of you over and over. Trini Ross looks at this where it says, read detached PDF, that's freedom of information law. Comply with detached PDF, that's freedom of information law. Disclose names on prosecute silence. So this is in her office for this cop freak who began the destruction of my life, Shannon Meyer. On this day here, Trini Ross looks at this. I don't know the status of her ethics and morality, but this is it for her. She has this in her office. I would like to think that she can easily reach the intellectual conclusion. What's wrong with the District Attorney's Office? Why aren't they telling the names of the prosecutors? And also, I sent her this. Trini Ross. What's that, Todd Baxter? Is this private technology you're using on me? Would you buy it and fix it for me? That's the camera. Also called the surveillance device. 2020 Bank Road. Ellie Roth. You know this answer. Also in Miss Ross's office, I sent her this. You're coming to my residence to demand my dog. The cops showing up to demand the dog. The citizen who's walked his dog every day for 4,000 years. Excuse me. Every day for 7 years and 4,000 times. This is why the spies detest you, Todd Baxter. Showing up to demand my dog because of a complaint by this neighbor I shot. This 50-year-old man who lives with his 70-year-old mother. Talked about that repeatedly. So that's in the office of Miss Ross, along with other documentation that I sent her. And I also sent Miss Ross the payroll, too. I hope Miss Ross looks at this payroll here. She'll be able to see this distinguished American, Trini Ross, United States Senator from West District, your payroll, where if she watches me on YouTube, she see I held this up repeatedly. I'm telling you psychopaths, tell me the names of my prosecutors. And you're refusing. Like, where it says right here, cruelty. I'm going to send this to her. I haven't yet. This is April 29th. Oh, I think I did send that to her, but I'm not quite sure. But it says, comply with Tax Freedom of Information Law dated April 29th. Mail and answer on prosecutor's signs below in Rochester, New York. I have prosecutor's signs before. John Clemenza, Paul C. Messer, Alex Renzi. Tell me the answer, you psychopaths. You refuse because you're psychopaths. Trini Ross. So, this is Janice McNair on April 27th. Time Baxter. Patrons hired Janice McNair to call County Executive Adam Bell about this hack. He's a double dipper just like you. So, on this April 27th here, where this document arrived, on this April 27th, this document arrived on April 27th. It says right there, April 27th, apply with the 3 tax free information law documents, April 27th. Again, the documentation, John P. Menzer Jr., Paul C. Metzer, Alex Renzi. Then I have these YouTube links where I'm trying to enrage you psychopaths. Like when I use the phrase, a cancer. YouTube, a cancer. Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney, Sandra, Doorley, Alex Renzi. Bankrupt Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney, Sandra, Doorley. And then TikTok, I'm on TikTok talking to my ex-girlfriend, Laura Riley, about my illegal eviction. So this document here, April 27, 2023, went to Miss Ross on this April 27, 2023, just like it went to Lisa Gray. Lisa Gray, counsel, right? What is my prosecutors? It is mind-blowing that you refuse to answer. Here's Alex Renzi again on the 27th. I have prosecuted for Alex Renzi. Who is it? Trini Ross again on the 27th. Julie Sianka. Sending my mail back to me, right? I have not gone to my UPS box to see if this was sent back to me. I'm absolutely convinced. I have no doubt that this was sent back to me. There's going to be a pile of envelopes from the public defender's office that I will hold up. Julie Sianka, you know the names of my prosecutors. What are the names of my prosecutors you refuse to tell me because you're corrupt? Paul C. Metz from Pampton Court. Got this on April 27th. Back to April 6th. Captain Scott Alberti, April 6th. I sent you this. These are different dates. Over and over and over. I'm not going to read all those. I contacted you via UPS. First name on here is Regina Harper. April 3rd. What's today's date, Regina Harper? It's a month ago, I'm telling you. Alex Renzi again. I have a prosecutor for Alex Renzi. That's his name right there. I believe he wants me in front of him, given what I'm saying about him, also in writing. He wants me in front of him again, so he can just declare me guilty. We don't have to talk in front of the district attorney's office. So, that's corruption there. April 27th. This is a cancer here. You're a cancer on decency, integrity, morality. Just cop freak here. This is again Shannon Meyer, The Shield. April 16th. Mail names on prosecutor's office, the address list below Rochester, New York. Read the 6 attached PDF documentations. Answer me about sexual harassment in your office. Fire Shannon Meyer. You won't fire Shannon Meyer because she's a cop freak. And you, Todd Baxter, are a cop freak. And you love to surround yourself with cop freaks. So, April 14th here. I changed the Gmail. I only use it once, so I can't be blocked. At least I hope I'm not blocked. April 14th. Here's your emails up here. Perry Douglas, you got this. Mark Monahan, you got this. Elizabeth Buckley, you got this. Michelle Crowley, you got this. What are the names of my prosecutors? Mail the names of my prosecutors sounds listed below. The address in Rochester, New York. Read the 6 attached PDF documentation. Answer me about sexual harassment in your offices. And I say answer me about sexual harassment in your offices. This is it. Sexual harassment, Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, and Judge Alex Renzi. It's something called the Bear Mountain Compact. It used to be a long time ago, 30 years ago. I don't know if this exists anymore. The behavior that led to it exists, but it means that anything that happens north of the Bear Mountain in Albany, New York, stays in Albany, New York, meaning that state legislators can sleep with and have sex with anybody they want, and nobody's going to know about it because the compact is state legislators sleep with and have sex with anybody they want, only they know about it. But staff knows too. It's impossible to keep an affair from being in the rumor mill in many parts of Albany, New York, that are the legislative office building, the Capitol, the agency buildings. People know. As Ellie Spitzer found out. and his other employees, statewide elected officials, have found out. Do you know how Governor Nelson Rockefeller died in 1979? Because of Megan Marshak. He had a heart attack. Apparently, in the act of sexual intercourse with Megan Marshak. There's a rumor that when Governor Nelson Rockefeller was at the executive mansion, there was a fire, and the executive mansion had to be evacuated. And out of the executive mansion run the wife of Governor Nelson Rockefeller, Happy Rockefeller, and the girlfriend of Governor Nelson Rockefeller. I was told that by a man who worked for Governor Nelson Rockefeller in his press office. Press office I worked in too. Corruption and fanaticism, Penn Court, $28,000 policy Metzer. Redirect defendants away from policy Metzer. When I hold this up, it's to tell you that you're psychopaths at the district attorney's office. I'm also telling you how to avoid violating the civil and constitutional rights of innocent citizens, and you shut down this Penn Court by redirecting defendants to other jurisdictions in Monroe County. That you can do. But you love this assembly line of guilt with this bald-headed widow and James McMillan Jr. You love it. You love it when you're forcing citizens in here where you don't have to talk just to declare someone guilty, and then that person has a criminal record. And this happened to my friend Adam in front of John P. Mentor Jr., who uses a four-letter word that begins with a C to describe John P. Mentor Jr. And I'm not going to say on here, but that's also you, Sandra Doorley, and that's also you, Paul C. Metzler. So this is misconduct, and that's also you, Michelle Crowley, because misconduct on the chief of the grand jury bureau, Michelle Crowley, fails to call me, to the grand jury. Well, I don't know the grand jury's convened, and Michael Lamb purges himself. So I'm telling you this on February 12th, along with this packet of documents here, and I don't hear anything from you. The grand jury's convened, and I don't know about it. That's the lunatic fringe. And the lunatic fringe is a deputy district attorney refuses to disclose the name of a prosecutor, like on this January 1, where Mark Phillips is copied here too, and I have Todd Thurston on here, where I've held this up repeatedly and read this repeatedly. January 1, January, February, March, April. 4 months ago. You're refusing every single time to disclose public information to me in a courtroom financed by the taxpayers. January 16, 2023. This photographs why you're fanatic. This photographs why you're extremist. This photographs why a liar. This photographs why I know the name of $67,000 disgusting hack. This photograph is why people hate the police. The high resolution cover photo. I've showed this repeatedly. Todd Baxter is his private technology at 2025 Penfield Road. Would you expend taxpayer dollars and buy it for me? You'll want me. Since hate the police, you'll never know it. The warrant for my arrest for a parking lot, I have walked through 4,000 times. The absolute sick lunatic fringe in your office. And the psychopaths. So Todd Baxter is the part-time rates here. How many of these part-time employees of Monroe County Sheriff's Office, children of Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees, what's the state of nepotism? I know you refuse to answer me. I'm going to have more questions about this. I've not contacted you either on YouTube or in writing about this, but you have Monroe County Sheriff part-time rates. I'm just looking at some of the names here. I'm trying to see just off the top of my head if I can recognize any of these names here. I have the same last name as Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees. And I'm not recognizing one right away here. But the thing I find interesting about this are these minors here. Do you have minors on the payroll? One. So there's two main things about this here. Do you have minors on the payroll, and do you have minors that related to Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees? Or are these the husbands and wives of Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees? This right here is part-time rates. This is what I believe. I believe this is nepotism, or who you know at the sheriff's office right here. And when I say or ask, are these the children of employee Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees? Just the modern names here. And I've said this before. Ray Set, Olivo Cruz. Is Ray Set, Olivo Cruz, the daughter of Monroe County Sheriff Office employee Skylar Morgan Burgess? Skylar Morgan Burgess, the daughter of a Monroe County Sheriff Office employee. You know. How many of these Ashley Lynn Kingsbury? $15.57. How'd you decide $15.57 for Ashley Lynn Kingsbury? This is nepotism, I believe. I hesitate to say something with absolute confidence. I don't have absolute confidence. You do. You know, Todd Baxter, if this is nepotism. You know how many of these employees here, part-time rates, are related to Monroe County Sheriff Office employees because it's your Monroe County Sheriff Office, you Benito Mussolini skinhead. So, on here, at $29 is John J. Whitehair, $29. Todd M. Brinkerhoff, $29. Kelly M. Schnars, $29. Shelley Marie Beerworth at $18.38. Barbara Fellows, $18.77. What's the answer? Nepotism is sometimes difficult to uncover because you can have the son or daughter that has a different last name than the mother or father. You can have the niece and the nephew who has the different last name than the aunt or uncle. What's the answer? I think I could have 50 questions about this part-time rates and what you're doing. That's your Jonestown. That's the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, and you'll never know. It's a Jonestown. This is on January 10th, 72. Takes me about 2 to 3 hours to write all these out, too. Apply with detached PDF dated January 10, 2023 to 72 Freedom of Information Law documents. This includes identification, my prosecutor's files, mail the address, mail the information I demand, the address below. And you refused. Why? Do I even have to say it? Why you refused? You refused because you're corrupt, because you're psychopaths, because you're fanatics, because you're degenerates, because you need to be removed from office. That's why. So, on that day, January 18th, here, it was called unethical. I contacted you repeatedly on January 18th. And in this packet, this is what you got on January 18th, because I made the same copy that's stapled for me is what's in the envelope that you receive. So here you have unethical, Sheriff Todd Baxter. I'm telling you, disclose my names of my prosecutor, January, February, March, April, 3 months ago. Again, I'm telling you, here I sent you a color photograph that I just read here. This is in your office. Todd Baxter, when you receive this, and then you look at this color photograph that's in your office, what goes through your mind? Is it that this total indifference, doesn't matter, or do you think I need to lie about this? Or do you think I'm just not going to say anything about this, silence is the way to go? Because you're a Machiavellian calculator. You have to make a political decision about this, and I believe you're going to lie, and the way you lie is silence. I sent it to you. Did you look at this and think, what is my cop freak Shannon Meyer doing with this citizen? With a warrant for his arrest for walking through a park light has walked through 4,000 times. And perhaps I should fire her ass. You didn't think about anything like that. You know why, Todd Baxter? Because you're the blue wall silence. Your cop freaks can do virtually anything. I say virtually because you did fire Brandy Cadiz. Robbed a gas station on Lida Road. Your employees are robbing gas stations. There are so-called warning signs about someone like Brandy Cadiz. What are warning signs for him? About his behavior prior to him getting to the point where he's going to commit a robbery. Do you have anything like a disciplinary process, which I've demanded from you previously? There are ways to discipline soldiers, as you know, in the United States Army before they get to the point where they're going to have an Article 15. You could be confined to the barracks, where you cannot leave the barracks or the barracks area. You just have restriction around the barracks where you're not getting an Article 15. There's any number of ways discipline can crash down upon a soldier. So a soldier knows to conform with the Uniform Code of Military Justice. You have nothing like that. It is disgusting and disgraceful that you as an E8 and a master sergeant and a veteran know about the Article 15 and know about the UCMJ, and you're not transferring that experience to the sheriff's office because you have somebody like Brandy Gadis, because you have somebody like Richard J. Seaton is a violent fanatic that attacked me. It doesn't matter to you. Did you have a perjurer like Michael C. Houlihan? That doesn't matter to you. If you had a UCMJ to keep these psychopaths like Richard J. Seaton, Michael C. Houlihan, and Shannon Meyer in line, they wouldn't be violating the civil and constitutional rights of innocent citizens like me. And it doesn't matter to you. So, contact me with the information I'm demanding. District Attorney Sandra Doorley and Sheriff Todd Baxter that I just read. That is the Freedom of Information Law. Because I have read it repeatedly. And you've repeatedly refused to disclose information to me. This is the warrant for my arrest from this cop freak, Shannon Meyer. Took every sentence here and responded to. I've read this over and over now. I'm going to show you how my life ends as I know it. How I'm fundamentally altered and changed, where the way I think about the decency of human beings will never be the same. I'm walking through this parking lot for 4,000 times. This neighbor shot screams at me. He knows. He goddamn well knows people walk through his parking lot all day long. Shannon Meyer calls me. This is the warrant for my arrest. This warrant for my arrest has obliterated my life, where I own nothing, I have nothing. Because of your cop freak, Shannon Meyer, who was paid $67,000 when this was written, is now paid $83,000. Your entire Monroe County Sheriff Office, Jonestown, is cop freaks, just like her. And you, Todd Baxter, are the cop freak in Monroe County. My name is Chris Chichester. I've been an innocent man my whole life.